All right, let's dive into one of the internet's deepest and most fascinating rabbit holes. A real mystery that kicks off in an ancient text and somehow spirals all the way into a modern prophecy. This is a story about giants, fallen angels, and a question that's been echoing for millennia. So it all boils down to this one central question. Who, or maybe what, were the Nephilim? As you're about to see, the answer is, well, it's not simple at all. And that's exactly where we're going to start. To even begin to wrap our heads around this puzzle, we have to go right back to the source. We're talking about a very specific and honestly a very strange passage in one of the oldest books in the world. And here it is, Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Believe it or not, this single verse has launched 1,000 theories. It says, the Nephilim were here on earth in those days, and then it connects them to this union between two totally different groups, the sons of God and the daughters of humans. You know, the name itself actually gives us our first big clue. Nephilim probably comes from the Hebrew word naphal, which means to fall. So this leads to translations like the fallen ones, which sounds pretty ominous, right? But other people think it's more literal, and they translate it simply as giants. And this is really the heart of the controversy. The text is describing a hybrid race, the children of some kind of supernatural union who ended up becoming famous in their day, heroes of old, men of renown. But the story, it definitely doesn't stop there. Okay, let's jump to the next part of this whole narrative. We're going to see how this idea of giants doesn't just fade away after Genesis, it actually echoes throughout the rest of the story. So after that first mention in Genesis, the idea of giants, it doesn't just disappear. It pops up again hundreds of years later when Israelite spies in Canaan come back terrified. They say they saw descendants of the Nephilim, being so huge that the spies felt like grasshoppers next to them. And that whole lineage of giants leads us right to the most famous one of all, Goliath. The text actually describes Goliath as being over 9 feet tall. I mean, just think about that for a second. That kind of detail takes this from a vague legend and turns it into a really tangible, terrifying figure, cementing this idea of a race of giants in our collective memory. So, with such vivid descriptions in the text, you have to wonder, right? The natural next step is to look for some kind of physical proof. Did these giants actually leave anything behind? And that leads us to the million-dollar question for so many researchers and enthusiasts. Is there any hard archaeological evidence that creatures like this ever really walked the earth? Okay, this is where the trail gets, well, really murky. The internet is absolutely filled with photos and reports of giant skeletons being dug up. But time and time again, these turn out to be hoaxes or just misidentified fossils. Still, these claims, plus the enduring mystery of how ancient megalithic structures were even built, keep the debate raging online. For now, though, real, verifiable proof, it's pretty much all just speculation. So if archaeology is inconclusive, could modern science maybe give us a different way to look at this ancient puzzle? And this is where two worlds really collide. On one side, you've got the ancient story of a supernatural hybrid creation, and on the other, you have the cutting-edge field of ancient DNA. Now, mainstream science hasn't found any giant DNA, but some theorists wonder, could future breakthroughs in recovering ancient genetic material uncover some kind of anomaly from our distant past? It's a pretty wild idea, but fascinating to think about. It's a really compelling thought, isn't it? Could the secrets to these ancient stories not be hidden in stone, but locked away in a genetic code that's just waiting for us to figure it out? For now, it's a completely hypothetical question, but who knows what the future holds? Okay, let's get to the final piece of this mystery. And honestly, this is the part that takes it from just a historical curiosity and shoots it right into the future. This is the prophetic connection. So the way these pieces connect is crucial. The logic for people who hold this theory, it kind of goes like this. Step 1, the Nephilim were on the earth right before a huge judgment, the flood, in the time of Noah. Step 2, a major prophecy says the end times will be just like the days of Noah. And that leads to step 3, the incredible theory that these hybrid beings could, somehow, return. And this right here, this is the verse that underpins the entire theory. It's from the New Testament, and it directly draws a line between the days of Noah, the exact time the Nephilim were on the earth, and the time of the end. It's this link that transforms the Nephilim from a historical oddity into a subject of future prophecy. And so that's where we're left. We have a story that stretches across all of human history, from the ancient past to the prophetic future. So what are the Nephilim? Are they just an ancient myth? A way to explain things people couldn't understand? Are they an archaeological mystery, with evidence we just haven't found yet? Or, as some people believe, are they part of a prophecy that's still waiting to unfold? The mystery for sure endures.